Awesome. So it looks like we are live right now. Welcome everyone to My Seven Chakras live. We're going to get started in a few seconds from now. So if you're joining us right now, whether it's a live or whether you're joining a replay, make sure that you give us a like. Make sure that you add your questions, your comments, your observations, anything that you have in the comments box below, because I'll be watching them and then trying to feature them to Shri M. I will introduce our special guest to you in a moment. But again, if you're joining us right now, then make sure that you know that this is an interactive session and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. So we're going to get started in a few seconds, 3 seconds from now. Three, two, one. What's up, Action Tribe? AJ here, host and founder of My Seven Chakras, my7chakras.com, the show where we provide you ancient wisdom for self healing, self realization, and abundance. So, our guest for today is a spiritual guide, social reformer, and educationist who was born into a Muslim family on November 6, 1949, in Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala. His transformational journey from a young boy to a living yogi is a fascinating story symbolized by a single minded discipline and dedication. Entranced by mystical stories of Sufi saints and a brief encounter with numinous Swami at a relatively young age, he was not only drawn to the truth but also the compelling landscape of the snow clad Himalayas. Traveling extensively unto the present day, he has quietly gone about his life's mission, teaching and guiding people as per his master's instructions. Quality, not quantity. Spiritual evolution is individual and cannot be a mass phenomenon. No meditation technique franchises can do much good. Each individual is special. No poster blitz and poster wars when your work starts. So, Action Tribe, please welcome Shri M. So, Shri M, thank you so much for
Thank you very
joining me
much.
today. And it's so exciting to have you. Now, we usually begin every session with an inspirational quote, but I know that you start your own sessions with a mantra, a guru mantra.
Right.
So, do you mind sharing that guru mantra with us and also the significance of that mantra before your teachings and your satsangs?
Okay. So the Guru mantra which I chant before any satsang or interaction is not a new mantra. It's an ancient mantra. The mantra is Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yen Characharam Tat Padam Darshidam Yen Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanam Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yen Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. This is the mantra. Um, well, if you ask me for the significance of the mantra, because if you take each word and try to explain, it's probably the entire satsang that we're going to have.
Right.
So I'll just give you a rough idea. Akhanda Mandalakara means the universe with all its indivisible, one whole, holistic universe. Uh, Vyaptam Yena Characharam. This Guru that I bow down to is the supreme reality which pervades and moves in this entire universe with its different mandalas, the Milky Way. Tatparam Darshidam Yenu. To that Guru, I bow down to the supreme teacher who is all pervading, who is Ishvara himself. To this Guru, to the feet of this Guru, I bow down. One. Ajnanatimirandasya jnananjanam shalakaya. Uh, it means you are the one who gave me the coryllium to put in my eyes by which I could understand the wisdom of the ancient Vedas. Jnanatimirandasya jnananjanam shalakaya. Chakshurumilitam mena tasmai Sri Guru. That Guru who gave me the sight to see that which is beyond, to his feet I bow down. Guru, it's also the supreme being who is Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwar, the creator, the preserver, and the destroyer to whom I bow down. So for me, a Satguru is God Himself.
Mm,
I sometimes get very worried when people, human beings, call themselves Sadgurus.
mm.
Yeah,
Well, thanks a lot for sharing and bringing this wonderful vibration into the beginning of our interview. And we have so many viewers who are joining us and they're saying Pranam Guruji, Pranam Baba, and everyone's in this wonderful state of
my
enjoyment.
my greetings to everybody.
So, you've obviously written numerous books till date, but the one that you got started with was called The Apprenticed to a Himalayan Master. So, what inspired you to write that particular book, which of course became a bestseller?
Well, it's my biography. It's an autobiography,
Yeah.
and it's interesting because I didn't depict myself as a yogi, kind of. I said apprentice to a Himalayan master. I was an apprentice.
Mm,
So most of the book is about my apprenticeship to the teacher Maheshwarnath Babaji, who belonged to the Nath Sampradaya. So actually, traditionally, I belong to the Nath Sampradaya. When he initiated me into the Sampradaya, he gave me the name Madhukarnath,
okay.
which is the first letter is M, Madhukarnath. So, um, so this was a. I was carrying a lot of stuff in my head for many years.
Mm,
My autobiography as a yogi, as an apprentice. And at some point, Babaji had told me that you need to write your autobiography
mm,
so that people can understand what you went through, how you started, and so on.
mm,
I was very reluctant. I carried it in my head for several years,
mm.
wondering, is this going to be believable if you write this
Yeah.
thing?
Right.
You know?
Mm,
And then one of my old friends told me, well, it doesn't matter if it's believable or not. Why don't you do it?
mm.
I was relieved because it was like carrying a weight and walking around, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one day I sat down and
Right.
started writing, and it went on for 1 year. I wrote them, not continuously, of course. I
Right.
was traveling, going. So it took me around about 1.5 years to put it all in on paper in writing,
Mm,
and then good friends helped me to type it out because I'm not good with the computer. And finally, we had the book ready. And then I said, what is the title? Should I write it out? A yogi's autobiography? I said, no.
yeah.
Yogi's autobiography, all right. But first, I must write about my master. If you read the autobiography,
Mm,
you'll find that the hero there is Maheshwarnath Babaji, not
mm,
M.
mm.
This is
Got
how
it.
I started writing the book.
Got it. Got it. And what an adventure it was. And before I move on to the next question, I just want to let all our viewers, listeners know that we have a comment section. I'm viewing the comment section. So if you have any questions, please add it to the comment sections because I might not have the right question at the right moment to ask, and maybe you do. So make sure that you use the comment section. Uh, before moving on, Shri M, I mean, I've got a lot of questions about your adventure and where it took you and what you learned and who you met and all that. That
Mhm,
is fascinating. But let's start from your childhood. What
mhm.
was it like growing up in a Muslim family and yearning to study Hindu texts? What was the reaction that your family had to this yearning of yours? This yearning that seemed to come from a previous lifetime. So talk to us about that.
Well, to put it in a nutshell, I think they were nonplussed. Not that they were very orthodox. My
Right.
parents were not so orthodox in their own religion and so on. In
Right.
fact, my father was philosophy graduate, and there was some forward thinking in his mind.
Yeah.
Um, but they were puzzled. They didn't know why is this guy thinking about yogis and Himalayas and sitting in Padmasana. We had an old uh, wooden, I don't know what it's called, a big box
Okay.
in which they used to keep things made of teak. And
Okay.
I used to sit in Padmasana on top of that and meditate, and they used to this boy. So, in general, if you ask me, it was a puzzled kind of feeling that they had. They couldn't place what was going on.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
Uh, Outside my house, my relatives were not very happy with that. But my parents, my mother, above all, she loved me very much because I am the eldest and the only son in the family.
Oh.
So I think she tolerated me because of that.
Yeah, and I think
Then,
mothers have a special sort of
yeah,
affection for their children, right? Yeah.
absolutely. But then at the age of 19, I ran away. So I don't know what happened after that for some years because I felt like I was some kind of a bird in a cage which
Mm.
wanted to break through and run away. So I flew out and I went to the Himalayas. I mean, that's a long story in
Right.
itself. Mm.
Right, right, absolutely, and we're definitely going to get there. The moment where you decided that you wanted to, take action and go towards the Himalayas, but still being in your childhood, I know that in numerous videos and in your writing, you've written about certain spiritual experiences that you had as a child. So
Mhm.
talk to us about maybe one of them, where you sort of had this glimpse of spirit, of you being, your journey in a way.
The first glimpse was not a spirit, it was an actual man.
Yeah.
And this was at the age of around nine
Okay.
years.
Okay.
We had a large backyard in our house, and all the boys and girls from the neighborhood, they used to come and play together. And evening by about 6:30, when it was getting dark, all of my friends they went back home, and I was alone.
Mm.
And at the last end near the compound wall, there was a jackfruit tree.
Okay.
Suddenly I looked and I thought there was somebody standing there, very unfamiliar figure, matted hair, tall, no upper garments, just a white cloth below the waist.
Mm.
Uh, he was wearing Rudraksh. I didn't know it was Rudraksh at that time. He carried a water pot,
Right.
Kamandal with it, and he beckoned me to come forward.
Mm.
So the usual reaction would be to run away.
Yeah.
There's a stranger, very peculiar looking stranger, and tall. So uh, when he did this, in fact, for a second I hesitated, then I moved towards him.
Mm.
And when I was close to him, I looked up because he was over 6 feet tall
Mm.
and those big eyes, which I've never forgotten. Even now I can see them in my mind's eye.
Mm.
He looked at me and he asked me a very peculiar question I couldn't understand. He said, in Hindi, he asked me, "Uh, Kuch yaad aaya? Do you remember anything?"
Mm.
I said, nothing. I
Mm.
don't remember anything. He said, Kuch nahi yaad aaya. Well, we speak Urdu at home, so it was
Yeah.
not difficult for me to understand what he said. Then he put his hand on my head, and that was the turning point. He put his hand
Wow.
for a few seconds on my head, and he said,
Mm.
"Samay aane par sab theek ho jayega." Which means when the time comes, everything will be fine. And then he said, "Wapas jao, go back." So I turned and walked back,
Mm.
quite a distance to the back door, which opens into the kitchen.
Yeah.
And one of the strange experiences I had at that point was that I could not turn around to see if he was there or not. That's how it
Mm.
started. And then I kept moving forward. I went in. I wanted to tell my mother this is what happened,
Yeah.
but my tongue just wouldn't cooperate with me. So
Oh.
this was there for a long time till the age of 19 when I ran away from home. I could not explain or describe this experience to anybody.
Mm.
It just got stuck when I tried. I gave up after a while.
Mm.
So after that time, since you asked me about some the spiritual experiences and so on, not much, but
Yeah.
little bit happened to me. I had never learned meditation in my life
Okay.
till then. I was only 9.
Okay.
From that day, every night when I went to sleep, around midnight, I used to be woken up.
Mm.
I'm not saying somebody woke me up, but I couldn't sleep. I woke up. And then I would lie down and close my eyes and see like your 7 chakras, one of the chakras in the middle of my navel here.
Okay.
like those things you use in Deepavali,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the thing,
Chakras.
the
Zamin
chakras, yes.
chakra. Yeah, yeah.
Something used to go, but not hot, very cool and nice.
Oh,
And I used to fix my attention there, pull my hands together, and enjoy. This enjoyment would spread to all parts of my body. This was the beginning of my meditation, uninstructed by anybody tangible, physically.
mm, mm.
And this continued for a long time and later on became many things. Started there.
Got it, got it. Wonderful. Thanks a lot for sharing that. And as you shared that story, that wonderful story, I'm sure, and I can sense it in our listeners' body as well. Everyone's feeling the goosebumps. They're like they're there with you, and they're under the jackfruit tree and actually seeing your guru appear for the very first time. So I live in Canada, so especially here in
Mhm.
Canada, guru. The word guru has taken a slightly negative connotation, where everyone says, "I'm not your guru," or "Are you a guru?" But according to you, what is the importance and significance of a guru in a person's life?
You know, to learn anything new,
Mm,
especially something which you're not familiar with,
mm.
unexplored territory, even subjects which you don't know, forget about spiritual.
Yeah.
You need a teacher,
Right.
you need an instructor. You can't go into a classroom and study for yourself. You need a teacher out there. In the same way, the spiritual field,
Yeah.
especially because it is largely unexplored territory,
Mm.
I think it's a great thing to have a teacher. Unless you already had all the teacher disciple relationship in your past
Right.
life and you don't need anything. There are rare instances.
Yeah.
Ramana Maharshi did not have a teacher.
Right.
Yes. But we are not Ramana Maharshi, all of us.
Mm.
So I think generally for all of us, you and me, common human beings like you and me, we need some kind of a teacher or an instructor. So for me, guru means that instructor.
Okay.
Uh, the traditional meaning of the word guru also is one who removes darkness or
Okay.
one who brings the secret out because
Mm.
gu is guhya, hidden
Okay.
darkness. And ru is a short form for Rudra, the destroyer. So it could be destroyer of ignorance. You could say
Right.
that.
Right.
But what I learned from my guru, Maheshwanath Baba,
Mm.
was that the teaching and the relationship was more important than the form of the guru.
Mm.
Well, since the guru is this, Maheshwanath Babaji was like a savior to me. He was like
Mm.
my father, mother, friend, beloved, everything put together. So
Mm.
I do have a certain attachment to him. I'm not denying that.
Right.
However, he made sure every time to convince me
Mm.
that this form in front of me was not important, but the
Mm.
essence of what was being given was more important. In fact, he told me, don't get too attached to him.
Mm.
The moment he found that I got too attached to him, he would say, get
Right.
out, out.
Okay.
So I would go wander around and come back.
Right.
So for me, the significance of the guru, if you ask me, is the guru is one who guides you, shows you the path, and says, move.
Okay.
But if you're thirsty, you have to drink the water yourself. He can't drink it for you.
Got it. Got it. So I'm noticing two things. One is a guru is someone like a mentor who will give you the direction but will not do the work for you. You have to do it yourself.
He cannot.
You
I
cannot.
have to do it myself.
Right, 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 right. And secondly, I'm getting that a guru is someone sometimes gives loving advice, but sometimes it's strict also.
Also,
Right.
quite possible.
Got it.
But that, I don't know. I'm from the south, from
Right.
Kerala.
Yeah.
Uh, we have a saying
Mm,
which is very interesting.
mm,
Mutavar sollu mudu nellikya, Mumbai kaikkum pinne madiri. That means, the gooseberry,
hmm.
when you eat it raw, it's bitter.
Yeah.
Later, when you drink water, it becomes sweet.
Yeah.
The same way, even though sometimes the Guru's teaching may be bitter, strong, and something you don't really want to go into,
Mm,
but in the end, they always turn out to be sweet.
right.
You know.
Right.
So I also had to pass through tough times.
Right. Right. Thanks a lot for sharing. And that's a wonderful metaphor for all our listeners to sort of take in, depending on what they want to master in. And if they have a guru, they're not always going to get a sweetened dose of wisdom.
No,
Sometimes it's going
no,
to be hard, but eventually, when you drink the water, it's going to be sweet.
yeah.
So thanks a lot for sharing. So Shri M, talk to us about the Nath Sampradaya. You sort of mentioned that in the beginning. What does it stand for, and how did you end up becoming part of the Nath Sampradaya?
Well, I ended up becoming part of Nath Sampradaya because my personal teacher, Maheshwar Nath
Okay.
Babaji, was from the Nath Sampradaya. But if you ask me the genesis of the Nath Sampradaya,
Mm,
it's one of the most ancient streams of spiritual teachings which has been existed in India for a long time.
right.
We believe that the first teacher for us is Adinath.
Mm,
When you say Adinath, it simply means Sadashiva. There is
mm,
no difference. The Supreme Shiva. And then the next teacher we recognize is a human being who is Machindranath. And then from Machindranath to Gorakhnath and the Navnaths. And then from there branches out into so many other teachers. But they all have a Nath at the end.
right.
Now, my personal teacher was Maheshwarnath. The Naths have some peculiarities, which is basically they are yogis.
Okay.
They may be unmarried, they may be married. Many of them are unmarried. There are
Okay.
also married Naths. But they are people who have preserved the teachings of yoga. There was a time in the history of the Indian religious history
Mm-hmm.
that people got so um, involved in the Vedantic teachings
Mm,
that the practice of yoga was almost on the verge of being destroyed.
right.
Not destroyed, neglected.
Mm,
That's when the Nats came into the picture. Today,
mm,
if you want to learn anything practical in yoga and if you want a textbook,
yeah.
I'm telling you, look at all the practical textbooks available on the teachings of yoga.
Okay.
They're all written by Nats. We
Okay.
don't know about Patanjali, of course,
Mm,
but the rest, starting with the Gorakhnath's magnum opus, which is Siddha Siddhanta Paddhati. Very few people believe that.
okay.
Then we have the Garanda Samhita, which is a complete treatise on the practice of yoga.
Mm,
Then the Hatha Yoga Pradipika of Swatma Rama, it is an art text.
okay.
Then the Shiva Samhita, it's a yogic teaching.
Okay.
Then there is the Goraksha Shataka, which again is an art text. So these elaborate upon the practices of yoga. And I think it's because
Mm,
of the Nats that the actual teachings of yoga have survived, including Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Because they all
mm,
use that as a basis for the teachings of yoga. Now, before I stop on this
right.
topic, I want to tell you something from the Gita.
Sure, sure, sure.
In the Bhagavad Gita, every chapter ending goes like this.
Mm,
Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So this is the Bhagavad Gita. Upanishads, the teaching of the Upanishads,
yeah.
eternal truths.
Mm,
Brahma Vidyayam, the study of the supreme reality
mm,
beyond all appearances.
mm,
Hmm? Then the next word is Yoga Shastri. Then Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade, the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. But that Yoga Shastri you have to note, which means for the study of the Brahma Vidya, which is the Upanishad,
mm,
simple theoretical study won't do. You have
mm.
to do the Yoga Shastra to understand through your own personal experience what the Upanishads are talking
Okay. So
about.
that's
So that's
beautiful.
where the key is. You
Mm,
can understand, you can, for instance, keep saying the world is an illusion, I am Supreme Brahman, Brahmasmi, but you don't know.
yeah.
You need to know, you need to alter your mind. If you need
Right.
to alter your mind, you need also to alter your body. This is where yoga comes in.
Mm,
So the Nath Sampradaya basically concentrates on this. Well, we also have Naths who are just cannabis smokers and so on. Well, it is
mm,
a deterioration.
right.
I'm talking about the central teachings of the Naths.
Got it. Thanks a lot for sharing, and I'm sure our listeners are really, really excited because what they're learning is that the rishis and the wise elders knew that you cannot just learn some knowledge through abstract forms. You need to experience it yourself. Only then can you embody that wisdom and learn what it means to you, and that I think is really profound.
May I add,
Yes, sure, sure.
what I meant also was that you need an altered state of mind to
Ah, okay,
grasp this. And
right.
you can't alter the state of mind unless you have some kind of a spiritual practice. Now,
Okay,
any kind of spiritual practice applied here,
okay,
not only the Nath teachings,
okay.
become automatically yoga.
Got it. Got it. By the way, Shri M, I think there is some kind of disturbance happening from your wire. So if you could just be mindful of that. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, there was some disturbance. Yeah, it's good. It's perfect now. Thank you. But going back to your life, you meet your guru for the first time when you were young, Maheshwarnath Babaji, and then he
Yes.
disappears, and
Hmm.
then you turn 19.
Hmm.
So you have this yearning then once again to go back, go
Hmm.
to the Himalayas. When did you meet him next? And then when did you actually decide that you want to go to Himalayas? You want to go on this surgeon, you want to go on this spiritual adventure of sorts. What's that story like?
Well, it's a perfectly plain story because
Mm.
at the age of 19, as I told you,
Yeah.
I really wanted to get out of the situation I was in.
Okay.
And the only place that beckoned me was the Himalayas,
Mm.
which was there, of course, from childhood.
Yeah.
So there were no Google Maps,
No.
no internet. So with railway guides and things like that, I found my way up to Badrinath.
Okay.
I walked a lot. Uh, I didn't have money at that point to
Mm.
even buy tickets. I walked.
Right.
So finally, when I reached Badrinath,
Mhm.
I needed some kind of an anchor for physically to look after myself.
Sure.
So I went to the chief priest of Aditya, Rahul, also because he spoke Malayalam, and I thought, so I spoke to him. He was very kind, nice man, but he said, I think it's a futile search. There are no gurus or such great rishis here.
Okay.
But you can eat food here, and I'll give you a kutia to stay, so you can stay in the kuti, and so on and so forth. But I was feeling quite let down and kind of depressed because I had burnt my bridges and I couldn't go back. And here I was, and I couldn't find a proper yogi to teach me and so on. So one day I decided, let me walk further up from
Mm.
Badrinath. Uh, the last village, Indian village on our side, is Mana
Mana.
village.
Mm.
So I went up to Mana, and then beyond that starts what is called the Swargarohini, where the Pandavas are supposed to have been lifted up to heaven.
Mhm.
So I decided, let me explore. Maybe there are rishis up there. So I
Mm.
went up. It was an evening, it was getting dark.
Okay.
I didn't find anybody. So I was very depressed, actually.
Mm.
I came down very close to the Vyasa Gufa, and I looked down at the Alkananda river, which was coming, roaring waters.
Mm.
And I said, maybe this life, this body is not fit for this. Next life,
Right.
maybe.
Mm.
Maybe if I plunge in, I was thinking, I don't want to suffer. So how long will it take to end my life? Anyway, I said, let me walk a little bit that side and meditate before doing anything.
Mm.
So I walked and I sat in the mm, Vyasa Gufa. I didn't sit, I went and looked into the Vyasa Gufa, and I saw that there was a fire burning at the entrance. So I thought, if
Mm.
there is a fire burning at the entrance, there must be somebody inside. So
Right.
I went in, and this tall person stood up. And immediately it clicked to me that this is the same person I saw when I was 9 years old.
Mm.
It was my Sunath Babaji. He stood up, and his first sentence was, हाँ घूम फिर के फिर हमारे पास पहुंच गए. Oh,
Mm.
after going round in circuits, you come back.
Right.
And I said to him, I'll not let go of you ever. He laughed and said, we'll think about it.
Mm.
That was the beginning of my Himalayan saga because I spent almost 3 years and a little more with him wandering
Mm.
every nook and cranny of the Himalayas. Even today,
Mm.
there are places in the Himalayas which are not on the tourist circuit.
Right.
Wonderful places. So this is how it started. and I started living with him, moving with him, going where. In fact, once I told him, I'm like your puppy.
Mm.
Wherever you go, I follow you.
Right. Got it, got it, got it. And so this, I mean, I'm sure our listeners are trying to relate and trying to envision what it was like in the Himalayas. But your story is the perfect embodiment of the quote that says, "When the student is ready, the teacher or the master will appear." And it's exactly what happened. You had this deep yearning, almost suicidal, if I might put it that way.
True.
You had wanted to learn the truth so much that you could not settle for anything but the truth. And then finally in the gufa, you see the fire. And you've pointed that out in previous videos. But usually when people of the Nath Sampradaya, they visit gufas, there's a tradition of lighting the
Yeah,
fire, right?
called
Okay.
the dhuni.
The Duni. Got it. Got it. So thanks a lot for sharing, and that's wonderful. So
In fact, the
yeah, please
Nath
go.
Sampradaya, we are supposed to have a dhuni wherever we go.
Right. Right.
Now,
Right.
Maheshwarnath Babaji knew this is not going to happen. I can't
Mm,
do this.
mm.
So he has specified that on 2 days in a year we need to have a dhuni.
Okay.
And one is on Guru Purnima
Okay.
and one is on Shivratri.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Thanks a lot for sharing. And I'd like to also point out to the viewers, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, make sure that you add a comment below if there's some synchronicity, something that strikes in your heart or in your mind from what Shri M is sharing. Make sure you add it in the comments, because I really love seeing, like, Sheila is saying pranam, Dr. Rahul Unikrishnan is saying pranam, sir. Karuna is saying thank you for this program. I'm really blessed through this by Sir M. So people are really, really enjoying what you're sharing, and I want to thank you for this, Shri M, for what you've shared so far. But talk to us about your life in the mountains. I mean, some people might feel like, when you go to the Himalayas, it's like a nice retreat, food in the morning, and somebody is attending to you. But what was the average day like from morning to evening? If you can give us a
You
picture.
know, uh, uh, you know something. If you go as a tourist and you're staying
Yeah,
in one of the hotels, all this is possible.
yeah.
And those days, first of all, there are no hotels there.
No.
They all came later.
Mm,
Uh, I was with Babaji most of the time, staying in a cave, which is on the way to. Uh, it's beyond. It's called Charana Paduka. It's
mm,
behind the temple actually, the Badri temple. And there in a lonely cave, Babaji was staying, and I was staying with him. And my day started very, very early in the morning. Around 4 o'clock, he would wake me up, and you get washed, go down, bring some water from the river, and then wash the place. I became like a apprentice to him actually.
mm,
And then begins a study. Mm, We used to have Upanishads, we used to have, and after that, meditation. For a
mm,
long time, he had initiated me into the practice of Kriya Yoga.
mm,
And then um, we used to have just 2 meals a day. One, the afternoon meal was the most serious of the meals.
mm,
And Babaji used to send me down to get food.
mm.
He hardly ate.
Okay.
Sometimes he ate, sometimes he didn't. But I was hungry. He was sure that my body has to be sustained. So I went down,
Right.
sometimes to an ashram, sometimes to a shop. And they would all give some food because they knew Babaji was there up
Oh, they
in
knew
the
it.
morning.
Okay. Got it.
So I used to get fruit, sometimes so much that I distributed it to other sadhus.
Okay.
And then we would sit down and have a light meal. Babaji taught me how to cook. He taught me how to cut vegetables. He taught me how to make chapatis with my hands.
Mm,
So we did. I not only became a practicing yogi, I also became a amateur cook.
mm,
So we started working on this, and then one single meal, and I was allowed 1 hour of rest.
mm.
Then it started again. It was a tough
Wow.
life, and then in winter it was very cold.
Right.
So Babaji made sure that I had enough woolens to wear and cap and muffler.
Mm.
He did not wear a thing except that white cloth. Even in the Gangotri Glacier, I have seen him this way. And he was
Wow.
barefoot. He had no socks, no shoes, no nothing.
Mm,
So whenever I felt inconvenienced and when
mm,
I felt miserable because of the cold, I looked at him and said, "Good God, he's like this. He's
mm.
fine. So why am I worrying about it?" You know.
Right, 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 right.
So it's not paradisical in that sense of
Mm.
the term, but
Yeah, yeah.
the mind was in absolute paradise.
Right, 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 right.
So
That's
that
beautiful.
compensated for everything.
Yeah.
And above all, to sit and stare, doing nothing
Mm,
at the snow clad peaks and
mm.
opening your mind and enjoying it
Yeah.
was like enjoying the Supreme Being.
Ah,
You know,
that's wonderful.
that's where I got the significance of the mantra Om Namah Shivaya. The real meaning of it is Shivoham, Shivoham.
Mm.
You know,
Got
that,
it, got
that
it.
was my life.
And from your story, I mean, I'm sort of trying to pick out your story right now because it seems like from your journey, it was not just about learning the texts or, embodying the Upanishads, but it was a lot of the other stuff that would not be spiritual, like, cutting logs for fire or learning how to make food and doing the chores of day to day life, which does not seem so luxurious, but it was part of it, right? And I think that sort of helped you evolve
Very
into
much,
who you are
very much.
today.
Babaji was such a strict disciplinarian.
Okay.
If he gave me, say, a potato to cut,
Okay.
and if
Yeah.
it's not cut in proper size, he would
Right.
say, "What Upanishad are you going to learn if you can't cut
Ah,
potatoes properly?"
right, right,
So
right,
it was
right,
a
right.
practical training. When people, young men, come to me and say, "Oh, you want to give everything up and start practicing meditation," I sometimes detect, may not be always,
Yeah.
a kind of laziness out there,
Mm.
which is masquerading as spiritual uh, interest.
Mm.
Babaji never allowed this to happen.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
sometimes we are so lazy, we don't want to do anything, but we say, very interesting. This is like mistaking tamoguna for sattva.
Okay. Yeah.
Babaji made sure that this never happened.
Mm.
According to Sankhya philosophy,
Mm.
many of the terms even used by Vedantins come from Sankhya.
Yes.
The
Mm.
three tattvas, um, which are the three gunas, which are sattva, rajas, and tamogun,
Mhm.
which in different proportions are present in all of us,
Okay.
some more, some less. Uh, Very often, it's possible that one mistakes sattva, which is goodness and tranquility,
Yeah.
with tamoguna, which is inertia and laziness.
Okay.
These have to be separated. That's
Mm.
why the rajoguna is put in the middle so that you get into activity. Through
Okay.
activity, you can destroy this, and what comes after that is the tranquility of sattva.
Okay.
So sometimes people smoke cannabis or do something, and then they feel that we are in the sattva. Actually, they are in tamoguna. They need to come out of that.
Okay. I get it. This is probably one of the best explanations of the three gunas, whether it's sattva, rajas, and tamas. Sometimes we might mistake that we are in sattva, we are in sattva, but we are in tamas because we need some more activity, we need some more work. And
Purification.
speaking about action, I just want to speak about Kriya Yoga. Talk to us about what is Kriya Yoga and what is its aim. If there was like one outcome or one aim that a person aspires to when they perform or learn Kriya Yoga, what would it be?
There are many points, but since you're asking me, I think the main thing is Kriya is a practical, step by step, systematic technique
Mm.
by which you can measure your progress as you move forward.
Okay.
And it simply means a practice. Kriya simply means a practice. It could be any Kriya. Yoga has
Okay.
thousands of Kriyas.
Okay.
But when I say Kriya, I'm talking about that particular practice that has
Mm.
come to me through Maheshwarnath Babaji,
Okay.
who was a disciple of Sri Guru Babaji, the famed legend of Sri
Mm.
Guru Babaji. So
Mm.
this is the Kriya I'm talking about.
Okay.
It's also the Kriya which Yogananda Paramahamsa talked about in autobiography.
Right.
Not very different, very similar, because
Okay.
he got it from the parampara of Lahiri Maharaj.
Okay.
and Yukteswar Maharaj. So this is what. So one thing about Kriya is it's a practical step, practical method by which you can kind of measure your progress, how
Okay.
you're moving forward. One.
Mm.
Second, that is basically done to open the channel in our system, which is called the Shushumna Nadi.
Right.
It's usually blocked.
Okay.
Ah, so for other things in life, you don't need the Shushumna Nadi, but for
No.
spiritual progress, you do.
Mm.
So it's usually blocked or not active. And Kriya is a way of cleaning up the Shushumna. Since
Okay.
you asked me what is so important,
Yeah.
cleaning up the Shushumna. And once the Shushumna is cleaned up, whatever has to happen happens by itself. We don't meddle too much with the energy called Kundalini because it is dangerous.
Oh.
It's like a 100 megaton bomb. So you don't have to go there. You clean up your Shushumna, purify
Okay.
yourself, and meditate in the Ajna,
Mm.
and everything happens by itself.
Got it. Got it. So it's great that you mentioned and you spoke about Kundalini Shakti, because a lot of people these days they just want to go straight ahead, take like a 40-minute course or 1 hour course and awaken their Kundalini. They feel it's going to be like a simple procedure, but like you through your experience have mentioned that you got to be aware of what you're getting into. So could you give us an overview of the Kundalini Shakti and our chakras and how they contribute towards our self realization? If you can get, I know that this can be spoken about for hours and hours together, but if you can just give us an overview of this, that would be awesome.
Okay, let's start with this.
Okay.
Um, there is an universal energy.
Mm,
You may call it Parashakti, or whatever you want to call it.
mm,
And it is a creative energy. It's also destructive in some way because you can't create anything without destroying the old.
mm, mm,
Uh, this energy is expressed in human beings
mm.
as sexual energy also.
Okay.
So when two human beings have sex,
Mm,
it is the Kundalini that is active, but
right.
in a downward way, not in the upward way. In a different.
Okay.
I'm not saying that in a negative way,
Sure.
up and down. So what happens? A child is created, and the child is inside the womb. Now this Shakti goes along and makes a complete walking, talking, thinking, speaking human being from a drop of semen that has gone inside the yoni. So it's a very highly creative energy which changes a few drops of blood into a human being. Now, having made a child at the age after 9 months or 10 months when the child is completely made in the womb, this energy withdraws and remains hidden in the bottom of the spine in the center called the Muladhara.
Mm,
It's the same energy that has created the child.
mm,
Now it's in hiding, it's in potent form, it's not active.
mhm.
This is the energy. It has been called Parashakti, Bhadrakali, Rajarajeshwari, Kundalini Shakti, Kula Kundali, and so on. It's the
Okay.
same energy.
Mm,
And so, just you see the connection, there is a link between libido and this
mm,
in an indirect way.
right.
Now, for most people, it's there, hidden, like a coiled snake. Snake is just a symbol, there's no snake out there,
Mm,
it's just a symbol. It's a symbol of a coiled spring,
right.
it's there. And there are practices by which it can be awakened. Sometimes spontaneously, when one has devotion, also this can happen. It
Mm,
need not be that you're practicing. When it is awakened,
mm,
the first feeling you have is ecstasy.
okay.
Why? Because it's the same thing which is experienced as sexual ecstasy. But this one is much more than that. It's
Mm,
not only in that part, but it can spread to other parts of the body.
right.
Now, once it is activated, you need the Shushumna Nadi that stretches from the Muladhara to the Sahasrara, which is on the top of the head, cerebrum, to the spinal cord. So you need to clean up the Shushumna so that
Mm,
this energy which is awakened can slowly move up to the different centers. So from the gross to the subtle, to the subtle, to the subtle, to the subtlest.
Hmm.
So it is an ascension uh, from gross to the subtle. How
Hmm.
the lowest center is called the Muladhara
Right.
and is represented by Prithvi, which is solid.
Right.
From there, awareness goes to the next one, which is Apas, the water
Right.
tattva, in the Swadhisthana. And then to the Manipura, which is fire.
Mm.
And then from here to the Anahat, which is wind,
Right.
Vayu. And then from here to Akasha, which is
Hmm.
the Vishuddhi. And then to the Ajna, and then to the Sahasrara. These are the. Now, when this energy travels up the
Yeah.
spine and goes to Sahasrara, according to the yogi, Paramashiva, Sadashiva resides here in the
Okay.
cerebrum. So there is a meeting between Shakti and Shiva.
Mm.
Snake coils around the Shivling, and there
Yeah.
is, and then the Shiva and the Shakti are no more different, and then
Okay.
there is absolute ecstasy. That's when the yogi declares, Chidananda Rupam, Shivoham, Shivoham. I am of the nature of bliss and consciousness. I am Shivam, I am Shivam.
Mm.
So this movement from the bottom to the top is what is meant by the what the yogi calls the traveling of the Kundalini.
Oh, okay.
And one of the best texts today, luckily available in English on
Yeah.
this subject, is a book written by Sir John Woodroffe.
Hmm.
It's called The Serpent Power, which is actually a translation and commentary on the Sat Chakra Nirupana,
Mm.
which is a perfect textbook on the chakras and the Kundalini. For your information, Sir John Woodroffe was a lawyer, senior lawyer, and a judge in the Calcutta High Court. He was a
Right.
Britisher.
Right.
And see, he was so interested, he left everything and joined the yogis and learned the whole thing and wrote this. You will be surprised to know that Carl Jung,
Hmm.
the great
Yeah.
psychiatrist,
Yeah.
studied the Sat Chakra Nirupana in
Yeah.
translation, Serpent Power, and wrote a beautiful, gave a series of lectures
Yeah.
uh, on the subject.
Right, right, right. That's wonderful. I know that, and I've heard that a lot of these Western scientists and philosophers and psychologists, they were really enamored by what is written in the Gitas and what is written in the Upanishads and things like that. But I think that information has to come out into the mainstream because a lot of people don't know. I know for one that Nikola Tesla was very,
Yeah,
really enamored by the teachings of Swami Vivekananda, and he used to
right,
attend those a lot.
right,
So,
right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks a lot for
If
sharing that with
Jung,
us.
if Jung could understand and got
Yeah.
so interested in using yogic studies for psychiatry
Yeah.
uh, by reading The Serpent Power,
Mm.
so you can imagine what an impact it must have had on him. He
Yeah.
was not a man who could be easily impressed.
No, no. Wow. So there you go, Action Tribe and listeners. Sat Chakra Nirupana. But if you want to read the English version, then the book is Serpent Power and it's available on in all bookstores. Make sure you check that out. Uh, Now, I wanted to also check. I mean, since you've spoken about this journey that one can embark on from the Mooladhara chakra to the Sahasrara chakra, and then experiencing the oneness that is available for everyone, talk to us about the Ashta Siddhi that yogis aspire for. Do humans really have these superhuman abilities to levitate, or for that matter manipulate light? Because I think you shared a story about light manipulation and creating a sense of invisibility, so to speak. So if you could talk to us a bit about, yeah, that.
Um, One thing you said, I'm not completely in agreement with that the yogis aspire for astasiti.
Okay.
No, the yogis aspire for moksha,
Okay. Okay.
or in yogic terms, kaivalya.
Okay.
But on the way to this,
Okay.
since the mind is expanding and you
Mm.
have at your command energies which are normally not available to people,
Right.
you develop certain extrasensory capacities,
Okay.
which can't be done with the five senses.
Right.
Um, and these are described as the Ashtasiddhis in generalized in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. The word comes from that.
Okay.
Ashtasiddhi comes from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Now, now we have to be very careful about this. When they say, for instance, one of the siddhis is called Garima,
Mm.
which means heaviness. It does not mean that the human body becomes so heavy, or that it means Garima actually means the yogi who understands this. When he goes into a crowd, people feel his weight,
Okay.
his presence.
Mm.
It has been sometimes misunderstood.
Right. Right. Right.
Okay. Uh, then Laghima, lightness.
Mm.
Lightness has often been misunderstood as being able to levitate,
Okay.
which I'm not ruling out the possibility.
Okay.
But normally the word Laghima means a lightness in the body, a lightness in the demeanor, a
Mm.
lightness in thinking, a
Yeah.
lightness in mind.
Yeah.
A yogi who has experienced the
Mm.
inner is always light.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah.
But it could also mean physical lightness, which may lead to levitation, but nobody wants to do that generally. Who
Mm.
wants to levitate when you have aeroplanes now flying in the air? But
Yeah.
it can be demonstrated if he's a real yogi,
Mm.
if he sits on a weighing machine and meditates and has acquired the siddhi of Lagima, you
Mm.
might see that there is an alteration in weight.
Right.
Yeah, you could start with that and see how it works.
Yeah.
So perhaps at the highest, it might actually take people up.
Mm.
But the yogi is not interested in that
No.
because these are all physical things.
Right.
He's interested in going beyond the physical.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
these
Right.
are
Right.
the Ashtasiddhis. And there is a siddhi called Prakya, which means to be able to acquire what one wants at any moment. Now, this
Okay.
is this is because the mind and thoughts have become so powerful
Yeah.
that the yogi can acquire anything he or she wants
Yeah.
through proper visualization.
What
Even
is it
an
called again?
ordinary visualization.
No, the Sanskrit word. Sorry, that you mentioned.
Prapya.
Praptya. Okay.
Prapya.
Okay.
So,
Got it.
um, if you visualize something in detail, after a while it becomes a reality.
Right.
You know, it's also called vashya. That means attracting something to yourself. Uh,
Mm.
these are siddhis. So people say vashya means, oh, this yogi can attract women. It's not women. I mean, what happens is you have a certain magnetism in you
Yeah.
which unconsciously attracts.
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
And what you need, you get. But
Correct.
the yogi is one who doesn't ask for anything surplus.
Yeah.
Enough is enough.
Yeah.
If one moves this way, then there is no danger. The moment you start
Okay.
looking for surplus, then you end up in trouble.
Okay. I get it. I get it. I
Huh?
mean,
And
I love what you're
after some
sharing.
time, you fall. And the fall is very steep.
So there's a dark side to it as well. It's sort of like the movie
Absolutely.
Star Wars, where you
Exactly.
get these strengths, these abilities through your guru, and that's also there's a guru over there also.
Absolutely.
But then you can go to the dark side, and once
Yes.
you go there, there's no coming back.
There, there is a coming
There
back,
is, there is
but
okay.
it will take several lives.
Okay.
Hmm.
Wow, wow.
Nobody
Thanks a
is
lot for
hopeless,
sharing.
actually.
Okay. Uh, Karuna Murthy says, I really love this program because I feel Sir is with me through this live. Thanks a lot. And viewers, if you're watching this, we've got 108 viewers exactly right now, which is a very, very sacred number. If you're watching this, you have any comments, thoughts, ideas, something that's fascinated you, make sure you add it in the comments because I'm looking at the comments and we will make sure to feature your question as well. And so much information. I mean, this is such a short interview, but so much of information shared by Shri Guruji right now, Shri M. Could you talk to us about the relationship between Tantra and Kriya? Because I think, again, Tantra is a word that is slightly received a negative connotation, but I know that it's so much more. So, could you give us an elaboration perhaps about the relationship between Tantra and Kriya Yoga?
Kriya Yoga is actually part of that section of Tantra, which is called the
Okay.
Yoga Tantra.
Okay.
Tantra has many variations. There is the mantra, which is Mantra Shastra, is Tantra.
Okay.
Then there is Yoga Tantra, which is the practice of yoga.
Okay.
That is also Tantra. When you say Tantra, the meaning of the word Tantra is, uh, Yantra is a machine.
Mm.
Tantra is how to utilize this machine.
Mm.
Huh? So people have all kinds of funny ideas about Tantra. I would recommend that for English readers,
Right.
hmm, you should read again by John Woodruff a book called Introduction to Tantra. I'm saying this because you probably can't go and read the Mahanirvana Tantra or the Kolarnava Tantra. So
Right.
there is a beautiful thing called Introduction to Tantra.
Mm.
Tantra basically means that through living in this world
Mm.
and enjoying this world, you can still transcend this world and go to the higher spheres. This is the
Mm.
meaning of Tantra, which is why it has been misunderstood.
Ah,
Some
okay.
people think Tantra is orgies, drunken orgies in the cremation grounds. I mean, this, of course, there are extreme practices in
Right.
Tantra, I agree with you.
Right.
But it's not just, that's not Tantra entirely.
Mm.
This is because the sentence used by the Tantras, Jogo Bhogayate, that means yoga through bhoga, through
Mm.
enjoyment, is completely misunderstood.
Ah, okay.
The
Right.
enjoyment they're talking about is the enjoyment of the awakening of the Kundalini.
Okay.
So, yoga through enjoyment. You get
Okay.
what I'm trying to say? It
Yeah.
also means that most people cannot give up things, renounce and become sannyasins and find the truth.
Right.
Most people can't do that.
Okay.
So, Tantra says enjoy,
Mm.
and after enjoy, give up. Now, that
Oh.
requires a teacher. Otherwise,
Right.
you'll enjoy and not give up. You'll get stuck there. So, a
Right.
proper
Right. Right.
tantric teacher is required who
Okay.
will let you enjoy and see that you go and exceed the limits, and then you come back, and then
Mm.
you're satisfied with it.
Right.
The danger is if you completely give up something and walk the path of sannyas.
Mm.
Somewhere at the end of your journey, before you reach moksha, some desire which was inside your heart will crop up, and that's
Oh, okay.
here you have tasted everything, and there is nothing more.
That's true.
This
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
this tantra has and
Okay.
and the
Yeah.
misunderstood. It has been misunderstood also precisely because of this.
I
Now,
get it.
having
Hmm.
said this, I have to tell you that in tantra there are two parts. One is
Hmm.
called the vamachara, the
Okay.
left-handed part, and the other is called the samaya marga, which is
Mm.
the right-hand part.
Mm.
The left-hand part makes use of uh, what are called the panchamakaras,
Mm.
starting with mamsa, madhya, mithuna, and so on and so forth, which means that all that a person enjoys is turned into a sadhana.
Mm.
So that in the end, the person realizes that what you're enjoying is not important, that to go beyond it is the most important thing.
Mm.
And most people cannot go beyond without enjoying,
Mm. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So there are two parts to this. And for most of us who live in this world and work and enjoy and live this life, Tantra indeed is a very good approach, provided
Mm.
there is a teacher who makes sure that you don't go beyond your limits
Ah, okay. I get it. Okay. That
and
makes
then move
sense.
forward. Hmm?
Thanks a lot for sharing. And viewers, please make sure that you have your comments and questions and observations coming in. And also make sure you hit subscribe to our page so that you're notified about all the new stuff that we are coming out with. And Shri M, what is coming to my mind through your story is, the metaphor that is coming to my mind is like a child. Sometimes a child looks at his parent, maybe who's having beer,
Mhm.
and the child is like, I want to have beer, I want to have beer, I want to have beer.
Right.
And the parent says, no, you cannot have beer, not until you're 21. And then the child finds a way to have the beer, because when you stop someone from
Before
doing,
21.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
they end up. But then if the father says, okay, taste this drop, and the child tastes the drop and is like, it's so bad, it's bitter. And so the yearning to break rules and go beyond ceases because they have already experienced what is there. There's nothing hidden. So it's seems like that.
It's similar. Uh, Not exactly, but quite similar to that because it's like tasting the forbidden fruit.
Right, right, right. That's what I
Hmm?
was trying to get to. Yeah.
Hmm. And yet not getting caught by it.
Mm,
So it's a tricky thing, the Tantra. You know,
mm, right,
the Upanishad, in the Upanishadic terms, you can call it Shurasya Dhara, walking on the edge of a razor. Uh,
right.
so if you don't have a proper teacher, it's better not to experiment with Tantra. That's what I would say.
Got it. So,
You might end
make
up,
sure you have a guru that it knows what is right for you,
who
what is
knows
wrong for
what
you.
is right.
Got
But if that is available, I think it's a very good part,
it.
especially the modern world, where you cannot cut off everything and go and sit in the cave.
Mm, got it. Now the next question is something that I'm sure many listeners will really enjoy because this is something that you've not shared for a long time, but you've shared it in one or maybe two of your episodes that you've done. But um, you've visited astrally different dimensions, right? And you met a being called Nagaraj,
Mhm.
who was or is a reptilian humanoid. So talk to us about that story. Uh, how did this encounter transpire?
I didn't do it deliberately.
Okay.
It so happened that
Okay.
I was with Babaji in the Arundhati cave,
Okay.
and one night I had this uh, appearance. I mean,
Mm.
it's not a vision, the
Okay.
actual physical appearance. There was a ball of something like a light coming in, and
Mm.
it landed with an explosion. And then it opened, and there was this, uh, I can still remember it, uh, a blue colored cobra like thing, very big,
Mm.
hissing and sitting in front of Babaji.
Mm.
And to be frank, I was really literally shivering because I didn't know what was going on.
Wow.
Um, because I hardly expected anything like that in the first place. Now, and then it looked like Babaji was having a conversation with this being. It was like electric blue,
Mm.
a, a violet bulb lit from inside. And then Babaji told me to go come closer because I was really at the far end of the Arundhati cave and really fear. I was.
All right.
Uh, he said, "Come," and that thing touched its hood on my head.
Mm.
I, to be honest, I thought I was going to die,
Mm.
and then it just got into that, and it zoomed off. It
Mm.
was like reading, like some comic book, something like that. But it was. I asked Babaji, "Who is this? What is
Mm.
this?" Babaji said that there is a world. He said there are many worlds. He said you're
Mm.
stupid to think that there's only this world. There are many worlds.
Mm.
There are many kinds of creatures living.
Mm.
And this particular one is the one who is actually the head,
Okay.
the prime minister of whatever, or the king
Mm.
of Nagaloka, which is called Nagaloka, where
Okay.
all the beings are like serpents in the form of
Okay.
serpents. But he said they're even more intelligent than us.
Mm.
Mm. And he came here to consult me
Mm.
because there was some problem out there. I said, "This is wonderful. Babaji, you are a human being, right? And
Yeah.
somebody comes from Nagaloga to consult you on this
Yeah.
problem." He
Yeah.
said, "This is only a human body. I'm not any of this." So from
Mm.
that day, I had a new respect for Babaji because I thought he behaves like a human being with me. He takes me around. But this is much more than what I can see. Because
Mm.
if he can give advice to Nagaloka, then it
Mm.
must be different.
Mm.
So now, all I want to tell you is, please, at least now, when the scientists are beginning to discover hundreds of exoplanets,
Mm.
not very many light years away from us, which are supposed to be habitable,
Mm.
it would be very, very restricting of us to think that
Mm.
only this world exists and there can't be other kinds of living beings. And when other living beings in other planets need not be shaped like us.
Right.
People say, oh, if there is no oxygen, how can they live? Maybe they breathe carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
Yeah, they may be made in a different way.
Right.
So that experience set me off into thinking it with an open mind and saying
Mm.
there are possibilities which are more than what we know.
Yeah.
And then when Maheshwarnath Babaji passed away, when he was going to take samadhi, Sri Guru Babaji, who is his guru, appeared.
Mm.
And along with him came a young man, very handsome man. And I said, who's this? He said, this is the same uh, ruler of Nagaloka who can also come in this form. Which means that
Okay.
shapes are things which, well, it's like some of those old stories of shapeshifters.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, like these are all realities. At least you should suspend your judgment and say, perhaps there is something like that. That's
Mm.
enough. We can't shut our mind off and say, no, it can't be.
Mm. Mm. Got it. Thanks a lot for sharing. And it's just an opportunity for all our listeners to be more cognizant and more aware of the fact that we are not alone. We should not have this ego so much that we are the only planet which is capable of life, but there are others as well. And it's not necessary that we go physically there, but we can go there psychically or astrally.
May I also add
Please.
that one should not even think that when we are sitting here, only two of us are sitting here.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for sharing. I mean, I just wanted to also ask you. I mean, a lot of people now through the book that is written by Yogananda Paramahansa, they've heard about Guru Babaji,
Yeah,
and you've also mentioned that you've interacted with him.
yeah.
So, give us a glimpse about who is Guru Babaji, how long has he existed, and what is his role in the evolution of consciousness? I know this is a pretty loaded question, but if you could, give us an overview of that, it would be
According to
awesome.
us,
Mm.
meaning people who are in a particular tradition,
Mm.
Sri Guru Babaji is not a human being
Okay.
born of any physical womb. I
Mm.
know there are many stories circulating and so on. We
Mm.
don't believe that. We believe that he's a being rather
Mm.
than a human being,
Okay.
a being, a self created being, not someone who has evolved or become a great yogi or anything of that kind, but a being like an avatar
Mm.
who has been there since the time of Krishna's passing away.
Mm.
And he's specifically here in Kali Yuga to guide people on the spiritual path. Need not necessarily be Kriya yogis, anybody. Uh, and he will be there. Not that he's always physically there, but it's possible for him to manifest himself physically. But the presence of that being would be there till the end of this yuga, till at least a great percentage of human beings have attained the spiritual goal. Till
Okay.
then, we believe that this being is going to exist.
Mm.
And any sincere person who needs guidance will be guided by him in some way. Not necessarily that he would appear near
Okay.
in my bathroom and say, ah, hello. Not that.
Right. Right.
But the guidance is certainly there.
Mm.
And this is the being we call Babaji. And
Okay.
it's nothing new. In the earliest Nath Sampradaya textbooks, he is referred to as Nityanath,
Okay.
one the Nath who is there forever.
Mm.
And also as Sri Guru Babaji.
Mm.
The word Mahavatar Babaji was for the first time written by Yogananda Paramahamsa
Mm.
because he said that there are many avatars who have come and gone. Here is one who is there.
Yeah.
So he called him Mahavatar, but it's a newly coined word. Uh,
Okay.
in ancient tradition, for 1,000 years, he has been called Sri Guru Babaji
Mm.
and Nityanath. In fact,
Wonderful.
many Nath textbooks start with Om Sri Guru Bhyo Namaha, Om Sri Nityanathaya Namaha.
Right. Wonderful. I mean, I can feel it. Like whenever I look at an image of Guru Babaji, there's a sense of sacredness, a sense of sentience, as if he is looking back at me. And I'm sure that many people feel that as well. There's a timeless connection that people have to him in whatever manner possible. Need
Mm,
not he come in front of you physically, but
absolutely.
there's a connection that each one of them have. So thanks a lot for sharing. And Shri M, you sort of alluded to this. You said that it's not just us two who are having a conversation. There are other maybe beings that might be around us.
Now this is frightening if you say this to somebody. But the fact is, when you become sensitive and
Right,
you
right,
can
right,
see things which you normally don't,
right.
then you detect that there are other presences around.
Mm, mm,
And if you're talking good things, the presences are good things. If
right,
you go into a bar, you will find different kinds of beings there. Not
right.
only those who are sitting on the bar stool, but others
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
are hovering
Right,
around who love the smell of liquor.
right.
Uh, when you talk having a conversation, there are other
Mm,
beings around.
mm.
Don't tell me, show them to me, I can't. But that's what I meant.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I feel that I'm on this journey myself. I'm not shared it a lot, but I'm from Tamil Nadu. I'm a South Indian. And my grandfather, before he expired, he gave me the Bhagavad Gita. And he didn't explain a lot. He said, just read it. And it seemed as if there was some sort of a connection. And ever since then, everything that I'm doing, the people that I'm interacting with, all of that is leading to learning and uncovering more about the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads. So I see what you mean there. And it has happened to me as well in my life that there is this guiding force behind me. Might not be some other form
I
of spirit, but
understand.
at least my ancestor. So thanks a lot for providing that sense of assurance. But what are the Upanishads and what is their significance?
How
Because I know
much
many
time?
people. Yeah,
How much more time do we have?
we've got about so we've got 20 minutes. I can go beyond that. It depends on
No,
how much time you
no,
have.
20 minutes is good enough.
Okay, okay,
Since you're asking this profound
okay,
question,
okay, okay, okay.
uh, what are the Upanishads? Okay. Now, there is a word called Vedanta
Okay,
in
yeah,
this wisdom studies. There is Vedanta.
yeah,
If you examine the word Vedanta, then you understand what Upanishads are, because Vedanta means end of the Vedas.
mm,
Okay. Now, when you say Upanishad, uh, when you say Vedas, there
mm,
are four Vedas. You have the Rig Veda, you have the Yajurveda, you have the Sama Veda, and you have the Atharvana Veda. These are the four Vedas divided by Vyasa actually and
mm,
made into compartments. Uh, Now, the Vedas, when you say Vedas, you generally think only about the Samhita portion, which means the
mm,
hymns. Gayatri also comes into that. But Vedas are not just that. First, there is the Samhita, the chants. Then there is the Brahmanas, the
mm,
rituals. Then there is the Aranyakas, that part of the Vedas which were studied in the forest,
mm.
hermitages. And from there, there's an imperceptible shift towards the wisdom and the essence of the Vedas, which is Upanishad.
Oh, okay,
So this comes at the end of the Vedas. Each Veda has a set of Upanishads attached, each
okay,
Samhita. Therefore, it is called Veda Anta,
mm,
end of the Vedas, Veda Anta. So these are the Upanishads. Now,
okay.
what is the Upanishad? It's a very deep question. If you understand the Upanishad word, you understood the Upanishad almost.
Right, right,
Like
right.
Upa
Mm,
means to move close,
mm,
Upavasa, uh, to travel closer. It
mm,
doesn't mean fasting actually.
mm.
Upavasa means to move
Right, right, right.
towards, yeah.
Okay.
Uh, well, fasting helps sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So, Upa means to come close,
Okay.
not to close, but to
Mm,
move closer.
yeah.
Go near, Near, near.
Mm,
There are many reasons why this word is used,
mm,
Upa, because it's going as close as possible, humanly possible,
mm,
to the truth. You cannot become, because the finite cannot become the infinite.
mm.
But the finite can approach as close to the
Close.
infinite as possible.
Yes.
And when it is reached so close, then there is no finite left. There is only the
Yes.
infinite.
Yeah.
Uh, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said it's like the salt doll going to measure the depth of the ocean.
Mm.
It can go close, but once it goes inside, there is no salt doll. There is only the ocean,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Right.
So
Right.
all that you can express is to go as close as possible to
Mm.
the truth.
Mm.
It's also that which was taught in close proximity between the teacher and the student.
Mm.
In the forest hermitages, it was called rahasya because it was almost whispered to the student.
Right.
Because the unqualified people would derive no benefit out of it.
Right.
So, the one who was an apta, who could receive it, was given it in a secret way. So the teacher and the disciple sat close to each other. Another reason why it's called.
Mm.
It's not the age where there were microphones and headphones and all the internet. Understand?
Right.
So, upa,
Mm.
shad means to sit down.
Oh, okay.
Um, Now, not physically sit down only, but that the
Mm.
mind also has to sit down,
Okay.
settle down. So, upa and shad.
Mm-hmm.
Adi Shankara has given one more meaning to shad. He says shad also means to mm, uh, stir up,
Oh, okay.
shake up,
Mm.
which means to shake up all the ideas that you had till now and put them on the
Mm.
head. Like the ideas we live in this world saying this world is real.
Right.
Everything that is not of this world is unreal.
Mm.
Now, from the understanding of the Upanishads, this world is the one that is not real.
Mm.
What is reality is something which you can't see in this world. So you see, it's a turning upside down. So this shaking
Right.
up or shaking up from the ignorance of sleep, the
Mm.
sleep of ignorance. This could
Right.
also mean. So that is shad.
Mm.
Then the word ni in the middle connects the two, which
Mm.
means the attitude of the listener to what is being taught.
Okay.
Ha, the word niche in Hindi is derived from ni, down,
Mm.
which means to receive you have to first say that I don't know.
Okay.
Otherwise, you cannot receive. A vessel has to be empty before you can pour anything into it.
Mm.
So, if you put all these things together, you have
Mm.
this sacred teachings called the Upanishad.
Mm.
And what do they deal with? They deal with the different states of your consciousness
Mm.
and how to reach the essence of your consciousness
Mm.
and who one really is to find out one's true identity.
Mm.
This is the essence of the Upanishad.
Got it. Got it. Thanks a lot. And this is one of the most beautiful and eloquent explanations of a term like Upanishads. And I'm sure our listeners can agree to it as well. And that's one of the reasons why I want to learn Sanskrit myself, because, just one word has so many interpretations and
That
explanations,
that
right?
is very important. What you said just now. I am
Mm.
trying to get Sanskrit to be introduced as a very important language.
Please, if you can,
Uh,
my
in
platform
this,
is open to you.
really, I'm trying to do that because
Okay.
um, then you know things firsthand.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Otherwise, you have to depend on interpreters.
Yes.
Many times they may be right, but they could
Yeah.
also be wrong.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
my trust is that Sanskrit is introduced as an important language in the
Yes.
curriculum
Hmm.
of all universities, especially Indian universities.
Yeah.
Berlin already has a chair for Sanskrit. We don't have
Yeah. That's true. That's true. I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying, and I feel that in parallel with the spiritual evolution, there's a
it.
sort of um, patriotic evolution happening in India as well, as people are really finding out what India really is, what are the
Yeah.
texts, the religious texts, sciences, arts, and people are discovering the truth about India in a
Yeah.
beautiful way. And so, people like you, are doing a wonderful job, and I thank you for that. Really,
So
really
are you.
makes a difference. Thank you, thank you. I'm just doing whatever little I can with the time that I have. Uh, Shri M, you speak about the fact that you have a sense of understanding of who you were in a previous lifetime.
Mhm.
So are you open to sharing that? Who were you in a previous lifetime? And the reason why I'm asking that is because we have our family members, we have our friends, close friends, who we are interacting on a regular basis. So my point was, is there a karmic connection or relationship with the people that are very close to us? And it would be wonderful if you could share who were you in a previous lifetime.
Mm, um, I try to look at the second question first, which is
Sure, sure.
if we are in a family setup or we have friends and associates
Yeah.
with us in this birth, I personally think that they are connected in some way to your past birth.
Okay.
And there may be some new connections also,
Mm,
which may be necessary for you to evolve to a better state of being. There
mm.
may be new ones, but many of them are probably associated in some way to your past.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
As far as I am concerned, I have written a book called The Journey Continues.
Okay.
It's the second part of my autobiography.
Hmm.
I would suggest that you go through this book
I will.
uh, because there's not one past life, there are many past lives.
Yeah.
And the soul has no sex.
Mm,
So in your past, you might have been a woman, you could have been a man,
mm.
you know.
Yeah.
So the, the latest past life that I remember is as a disciple of Sri Guru Babaji.
Wonderful.
Mm. But there are many other lives.
Mm, mm.
The ones I remember started with being the ruler of the ancient kingdom of Jaisalmer, much before it became Jaisalmer.
Okay.
Uh, that's where I got first contact with Babaji
Mm.
and several other lives. I think if you read uh, The Journey Continues,
Yeah.
you get a rough idea about this.
I tried getting it on Amazon in Canada. It's not available. So maybe I'll cross check with your team and try to get it
We
because I
can,
really want to get
I
it for
can get
sure.
it for you. There's
Okay.
no problem. In
Thank you.
India, it's free available.
Perfect. Perfect. And Sheila, who is one of our listeners today, she's asking, how are his followers connected to him in previous birth or lifetimes? Is there a connection over there?
I think Sheila is wondering if she's linked to me in her past births. Probably.
Mm.
Well, not all.
Okay.
There may be some who are. And it's not a good idea to say who is and who is not, because that may create misunderstandings in other people. And
Mm.
those, if I say, oh, this one is connected, then that person becomes very self important and
Mm.
thinks that, oh, I'm superior to the others. And so it's better to keep quiet about this matter.
Right. 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 So, Sriam, talk to us about, we're all going through our own journeys, our own phases in life. And sometimes we tend to have a lot of struggle, a lot of difficulty, a lot of challenges, whether it's health or physical or relation challenge. We experience a divorce or we lose somebody who is very close to us, or maybe financial challenge where we are losing a job or our business runs to the ground and we don't have any money left. Challenges of all sorts. Maybe sometimes spiritual challenge. We feel a sense of lost in our life. So, where does this stem from? And is there any significance to these challenges in our overall evolution in life?
I think all the challenges that we face in life
Mm.
are meant to polish us
Okay.
and make us more evolved.
Mm.
If there was no sorrow at all on this earth,
Right.
we wouldn't have become better in any way. We'd have
Mm.
been exactly where we started.
Mm.
So take up everything that happens which inconveniences you as a challenge.
Mm.
It's been given to you to purify yourself.
Right.
If you look at it that way, then
Mm.
you're no longer bothered much by it. It loses
Mm.
its sting.
Right.
You say dukh to apna sati hai. Then when it has no sting, then you say, okay, come on,
Mm.
let's go have a cup of tea. I mean, for me, cup of tea. Somebody may
Ah,
be
I get
having
it.
something else. But you know what I mean to say?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah.
see that every opportunity provided to you in the form of disenchantment, or failure, they're all stepping stones for you to examine and say, where did I go wrong? And step up.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One should get discouraged.
Mm.
And the spiritual journey, for instance, is very tough. It's not so easy. So you may find so many obstacles.
Right.
Those who give up don't move.
Mm.
Those who don't move.
Got it.
Well, if someone encourages you, it's a good thing. If you have a teacher who says, hey, don't worry, we'll move forward. But
Yeah.
sometimes you don't have somebody, then you are in
No.
trouble,
Yeah.
right? So
Mm.
this is why I'm saying this,
Mm.
that if somebody says, I am trying hard to be spiritual and I'm finding it very difficult, I always tell them, you don't have to accept me as a teacher, but I'm with you.
Mm. Mm. That is some really profound information because, I sort of picked up you're saying that the reason why we're struggling so much is that we're trying to avoid that difficulty in our life. But if we turn around and if we accept it and if we experience it, then I guess from a universal standpoint, as the universe is
You
like,
go
you already
higher.
experienced it, you go higher. Now you have some different struggle because you've already learned to embody and accept it. So,
Exactly.
yeah, thanks a lot for sharing that perspective. I think it's really, really useful. And I'm sure our listeners are like, Guruji, Shri M, you found your guru when you were 19 years old, or actually before that, when you were a child. What about us? Somebody might say I'm 35 or 45 or 55, but I still haven't found my guru. And it seems like with the internet nowadays, it's so easy for little fake
It's
gurus or
true.
charlatans to charge people thousands and thousands of dollars promising spiritual evolution and ascendance. So how do we sort of decipher who is right, who's wrong, and how do we find our path or maybe our guru? What should we look for?
Okay. So it's very simple. Don't worry about when, at what age a particular person like myself found a guru. Don't worry about it. Because
Okay.
different people's evolution is in a different way.
Okay.
Okay. So you may not have found out. Maybe
Mm.
it's possible in some cases where you're about to die. You're a very sincere spiritual aspirant. You haven't found a teacher. You're
Mm.
struggling, and then we're about to die. The teacher comes. One shot, and you're there. I mean, this is also possible.
Right, right, right.
Nobody knows.
Mm.
Nobody can be sure.
Mm.
So, till that time,
Mm.
try to read whatever information is available.
Mm.
Try to practice in whichever way you can.
Mm.
And if you're looking for a teacher, examine carefully. Don't be
Mm.
taken aback by appearances.
Right, right.
Watch carefully and see if the teacher wants to give you something or take away your checkbook.
Right.
I mean,
That's true.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, this is a very practical criteria.
Mm.
And uh, is the teacher promising you a BMW or is he asking you to move towards the spiritual life?
Mm.
Two things. These are symbols, metaphors. What I mean
Right.
to say is, and if you're really sincere in
Mm.
your spiritual search, I am absolutely sure that the teacher will somehow find it.
Mm. Got it. So there you go, Action Tribe and listeners. If you are absolutely sincere, if you have the faith with you, and if you do not give up, then the teacher will appear. That is for
And
sure. And that
for
is
I'm very sure about this.
mm, mm,
The teacher, how he appears, what he does, or she
right.
appears, or what she does, is something unpredictable. You can't
Mm,
stereotype anything
mm.
in this
Got
field, at least.
it. Got it. And Shriyam, based on what you've shared so far, based on the stories that you've shared, based on all the insights that you've shared with us, which you've shared a lot of information, what is that one action step, or if I may put it, kriya step, that you would recommend for our listeners that they can do something simple that they can do maybe after listening to this episode today, tomorrow?
I would suggest that in the middle of all this, you may have doubts. It doesn't matter. But start some kind of actual sitting down, which you can do every day, at least for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, where you keep this time during the day and say, This time I will only do this, which is to sit down and look within.
Mm.
You have to keep the time away, as important as any other thing that you do, and start a practice. It doesn't require a guru to do that. And there are simple practices like sitting down first, bowing down, thanking the earth and the Supreme Being for all that you have. Thankfulness is a very important part of spiritual progress. And then just closing your eyes and watching your breath, as they do in Vipassana, for instance. You don't control your breath. As you
Mm.
inhale, give complete attention to your inhalation. As you exhale, give complete attention to your exhalation. So, this inhalation and exhalation should go on, and you should be watching it carefully. Normally, we don't give any attention to your breathing,
Mm.
give attention to your breath. And when you breathe in, I'm teaching you something which is basically part of Kriya. When you take your breath in your mind, chant the sound of hum.
Mm.
And when you're exhaling, in your mind, mentally chant the sound of saw. So it becomes hum, saw. Or if you prefer so, hum, doesn't matter. Just connect the sound with your breathing. And don't control your breath. Allow it to be normal. Keep watching your breath. If you do this for 5 to 10 minutes, you'll see that your mind is no more distracted. It has kind of settled
Mm.
down. And then you can sit down quietly at that point and fix your attention in the middle of your eyebrows. Just knock a few times. Just sit. Do this for a few minutes every morning to start with. And then carry on with your life. A time will come when you begin to enjoy it. When you
Mm.
begin to enjoy it, nobody can stop you. And what is required after that will come to you. I think it's not an impossible task.
Well, thanks a lot for sharing, Shri M. Action Tribe. To access the show notes for this episode, visit my7chakras.com/356. That's my7chakras.com/356. And if you're enjoying this on YouTube, then make sure that you hit subscribe and you hit the bell notification so that you stay updated about all the new shows that we have in store for you. Once again, hit the subscribe button. And I hope you're enjoying today's session as much as I have. And now you have some thoughts or some ideas to ponder upon today or for the rest of this week. We're finding out that energy is all there is, energy around us, but more importantly, energy within us. It's time to really go inwards to experience the silence, the subtle energy flowing within, and discover who we truly are. There are a lot of energies that are influencing us, like we're finding out today: our tendencies, our constitution, our karma, our prana energy. So it's time to relax a bit and stop worrying about everything working out as planned, because if we focus on our own dharma, on our own path of yoga, then the universe will provide for us. Because as Joseph Campbell, somebody who also loved the Bhagavad Gita, once put, we must be willing to let go of the life we have planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. So, Shri M, we've come to the last round, which is sort of like a rapid fire round, which has only 4 questions, but sort of like a rapid fire styled session so that our listeners can take note and take action. So, what is the best piece of advice that you have ever received?
I think it came not from Maheshwanath Babaji, from Dale Carnegie, who wrote How to Stop Worrying and Start Living.
Got it. Thanks for sharing. And if you could turn back time and spend 1 hour with anyone who is currently dead or living, who would it be?
Mm, my master, Maheshwanath Babaji.
Okay. Thanks for sharing. And this is something I'm sure our listeners would really love to hear. What is that one thing you do in the morning or in the evening before you go to sleep that has improved your life or your quality of your life?
One thing I do in the morning is to wake up and say, What a wonderful day. And one thing in the night, I lie down and I look at all the things I've done during the day and said, I haven't done anything bad.
Hmm. That's a beautiful practice, which I look forward to trying out myself. And if you could recommend one book, because you recommended some books during our interview, but if you could recommend one book for our listeners, what would it be?
I suggest that you slowly start reading the complete works of Swami Vivekananda. Start with volume 1.
Got it. Thanks a lot. We'll have all this up in the show notes. And Action Tribe, know that if you would like one free audiobook, that is listening to a book instead of reading a book, then audible.com is offering all our listeners one free audiobook. All you need to do is go to my7chakras.com / free book, my7chakras.com / free book. And if all of you are on Instagram, that is awesome. Then make sure that you take a screenshot of this episode and tag us on Instagram, because we love to share your message with our community. My handle is at my7chakras. That's at my7chakras. And if you have any questions, comments, observations, anything at all that you'd like to share, just email me. My email is aj@my7chakras.com. aj@my7chakras.com. So, Shri M, thank you so much for coming on our show. Before you go, tell us one thing that you are right now and today grateful for, and how can all our listeners find out more about the wonderful work that you're doing, and how can they obtain or avail of your book as well? Please guide us.
Uh, I'm thankful that I'm alive and I'm able to help people as much as I can. Regarding the textbook, you can go to Satsang Foundation, which is satsang-foundation.org, and you can find all my books. And if you want to meet me, go to a portal called Meet Shri M and contact someone called Lakshmi Kumar out there, and then say you want to see me, and she'll make sure that some arrangement is made. Thank you very much.
We'll have all this information in the show notes. I have not met you in person. I have just met you in digital, but one of my goals is to meet you sometime really soon so that I can thank you for your time and maybe get some more wisdom from you. And from the looks of it, all our listeners truly enjoyed today's session. I really appreciate you for sharing your wisdom and sharing your story. This is such an honor. And yeah, finally, thank you for talking to us about so many topics: Kriya Yoga, you know, different dimensions, the path of yoga, your own adventure, your spiritual adventure, and really encouraging us to go beyond worrying about challenges, but really embracing life as it is. So thank you so much, and I appreciate
Thank
you.
you very much, and look forward to meeting you sometime.
Thank you. We're going to end this broadcast, everyone.